Here's a 5-minute guide on the Viper Commandos Warbond. This is the 5th Warbond available in Helldivers 2. Like the others, it costs 1,000 super credits, but it has a few significant changes from the layout of all the previous Warbonds. It only has 2 sets of armor instead of 3, and only has 1 new primary weapon instead of 3. But as a trade-off, it comes with new cosmetic options for the Hellpod, Exosuit, and Pelican 1, along with a typical booster, throwable item, and 300 super credits. This came out on top of a massive balance patch. I'm currently testing all the changes, so expect a video right after this one, and if you like this video, make sure you give it a like. Starting off, the armor looks amazing, straight out of the jungles of Malevelon Creek. And unlike the disappointment of the last 2 Warbonds, we actually get a new armor passive. This one is called Peak Physique. It claims that it improves weapon handling, which is how quickly your gun snaps to your crosshair after moving or recovering from stagger. This is very useful for slow, sluggish weapons like the Jar Dominator or the machine gun. And it would be great if it wasn't bugged. Look at this, I can't see any difference between these. In fact, the physique armor actually looks slightly slower. The armor's second ability is that it improves players' melee damage. Currently, there is no real use to melee other than killing the smallest bugs to save ammo or knocking other Helldivers off a cliff. But with this new passive, we might see a line of close combat weapons in future Warbonds. Helldivers already has a Warhammer 40k feeling to it, so I'm hoping for a chainsword to really create a Dark Tide Zealot build. But as of now, this armor is useless. If they fix the weapon handling and they actually make it meaningful, it could be a decent set for heavy weapons. And if they actually give us melee weapons in the future, then it would be good. Moving on, the new booster is called Experimental Infusion. It upgrades your stims to increase your movement speed and damage resistance while under the stim's healing effect. The effect unfortunately does not stack with the med armor passive, meaning your speed and damage resistance won't last that extra 2 seconds. This isn't a downside, it's just something I wanted to point out. You still get those 2 extra stims with the medic armor anyway, so it's still good. So for the booster, with how useful stims are and how important speed and survivability is, I believe this is a contender for one of the best boosters to take in squads. The only new primary is the Liberator Carbine. It joins all the other Liberator clones in doing the same thing slightly differently, that is, killing hordes of bugs. Its short in barrel, high fire rate, and poor accuracy plays towards the SMG side of the machine gun pile. Playing with it, it does seem to run out of ammo way too quickly, and its accuracy makes it difficult to land headshots against bots and hit shriekers. I personally didn't like it too much. It doesn't seem to kill hunters any quicker than if I was just using one of the other SMGs, and it doesn't even get the benefit of it being one-handed. If the magazines were bigger to compensate, I think I'd like it more. Certainly not the worst weapon we ever got, and it does its job as a horde clear gun. Normally I'd be more upset because this is the only primary weapon we get and it was lackluster, but with this balance change, it made like half the other weapons that were currently bad into good weapons, so I've just been running with all those and trying them out. It's actually been a lot of fun, so I'm less upset than I normally would be. The new secondary weapon is the Bushwhacker. It's a triple-barreled shotgun that can be fired 3 times before reloading. Or alternatively, it can have all 3 barrels fired at the same time. It can knock away most things that get in your face, and it's extremely satisfying to shoot. It's best used by killing 1 or 2 in a group before using your primary weapon to finish them off, or using it as a last resort if your primary weapon runs out of ammo, and you still have bugs or robots in your face. It's great for dealing with hunters, berserkers, devastators. It's just all around a great weapon. The only downside is you have to give up your grenade pistol to equip it. Instead of a new grenade, we have a throwing knife. It can one-shot hunters, but not warriors, and it can one-shot devastators if you hit them in the head. You get 8 knives instead of 4 grenades, or 10 instead of 6 with engineering kit armor, though unfortunately you can't pick up the knives after you throw them. And despite it claiming to be silent, it's not. Here's me throwing a knife and a nearby bot instantly knowing I was there. And of course these do nothing for hordes, armored targets, and bug holes or fabricators. Is the throwing knife good compared to the impacts, stuns, or fire? No. Is it fun? It could be to some. I tried making a stealth build with the scout armor, the crossbow since it got damage buff, and the throwing knives. While I do enjoy sneaking against bots, there was nothing about the crossbow or the knives that made it any stealthier. I really wish the knives had some kind of stun or bleed effect that it applied, or it just did insane damage to a single target. It took me 6 knives just to kill a stalker. If they could one-shot berserkers or stalkers, I can see them being good, or shock them in some sort of way. And of course, being able to pick them up off the ground. That can move them from being a gimmick weapon to an actually viable weapon. But as of now, outside of the fun you might get from throwing the knife, they're absolutely useless. And there is one more thing to consider, the knife goes through shields. So when the Illuminates show up, which could happen any day now, these knives could be very good against them. So is this Warbond worth it? The booster is amazing, the hand shotgun is good, and I got a kick out of the new skins. But for gear that a new player needs, I'd definitely skip this one and look at one of the other Warbonds first. I'm making a tier list of all the Warbonds, and I'll be posting that after I break down the huge patch that came with this Warbond. If this video was helpful or you just like to support me, then go ahead and leave a like and a comment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next guide.